Hi there, you fellers and fell nuts. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to make some ribs. Now, I have perfected the making of ribs the way I like them. They wouldn't win any competitions because they're too tender the way I make them. They fall off the bone, so if that's the way you like your ribs, stay tuned and I'll show you how I make them. So right now I've got my RecTech, which is like a Traeger, except for instead of speaking to somebody overseas when you call customer service, you speak to Billy Bob in Augusta, Georgia. I've got it preheating to 235 degrees Fahrenheit. So the next step is to get these bad boys prepped and ready. If you've used 3-2-1 method for ribs, you thought they came out a little tough, this method will guarantee they will be tender, fall off the bone, and delicious. So I'm going to move y'all over here so you can see what I'm doing when I prep these. All right. So what we have here is a St. Louis cut of ribs. And I don't have a cutting board large enough for this, so I use a pan. So we're going to go ahead and open these bad boys up. The first thing we're going to do is, you see we've got this big flap of meat right here. That's not going to do well in the smoker, so we'll trim that off. And I'm going to save all these scraps and make pork broth for the dogs. I'm going to cut off, see how this kind of comes down to a point right here? This point is going to get overcooked. We want a nice even slab of meat the whole way, so I'm going to cut these 3 ribs right here off. And then the same thing over here, we got kind of a flap. Go ahead and cut that flap off. So now we got a nice slab of beef right here. Not beef, pork. Nice slab of meat right here. There's this membrane back here, which you can either remove or score. I'm going to see if it'll come off easy. If it'll come off easy, I'll remove it. If not, I'm just going to score it. The easiest way I have found to do this is to take a butter knife and go up underneath the bone, underneath the membrane right there. And then once I've got it started, get you a paper towel and grab a hold of it and start pulling it. And sometimes if you get lucky, you'll get it all off in one big piece. And other times, like right now, you're going to have to fight with it a little bit. Alright, that last little bit's not coming, so I'm just going to leave it, put a couple scores in it. You won't be able to tell any difference once it's time to eat these. I just like doing that step because that can become just a touch chewy. Our next step is going to be to apply a rub. So I'm going with this Weber Kansas City barbecue dry rub. And I'm going to use mustard as my binder. So try to keep one clean hand and one dirty hand. Go ahead and squirt a little mustard on here. And if you don't like mustard, don't worry, I don't either. It doesn't taste like mustard when you're done. This just helps the rub stick to the meat. I always give your meat a little. And then we're going to go on here, get a nice even coat. You don't want to hold your rub super close like this. You want to hold it up a little bit. Helps get even coverage. Good. Give this a little pat. And then we'll flip it over. See it on the other side. Make sure we get our sides. A little pat-roo. And that's good. That's prepped, ready to go on the grill. I'm going to throw this in the refrigerator while the grill finishes heating up, and then we'll throw it on the grill, and I'll walk you guys through that process once we get there. I'm going to wash my hands now. All right, guys, so the grill is preheated to 235 degrees Fahrenheit. So step 2 is we're going to throw these on there. So what we do, pick them up, plop them on there, and then we are going to leave those alone. We're not going to spritz, we're not going to spray, we're not going to look at them, we're not going to do anything for 2 hours. So those 2 hours are going to help set the rub. And like I said, this is easier than 3-2-1 method. 3-2-1, come out here and you have to spray all the time. These are easier and better. So we're just going to leave those now for 2 hours, and then we'll come back out here at the 2 hour mark and I'll show you what we do next. We're coming up on the 2 hour mark. So after 2 hours, we're going to wrap our ribs, and we're going to let them go for 4 hours. So I got this tin foil. This is 18-inch wide roll. I like the wider rolls because it's easier to deal with. Looks like it'll fill stuff. We're going to get out a big chunk of this. And then we'll go on here with a couple of different things, and you can use this stuff, you can use different stuff. There's really no bad way to make ribs that I've found yet. I've even made spicy ribs with using chilies, and those were good. But we're going to go down light layer of brown sugar, a little bit of our rub, which, I mean, the main thing here is making sure that your flavors complement each other. This is a sweeter rub, so that's why I'm going with a sweeter flavor profile here. Use honey or syrup. Typically I use honey, but I don't have any, so I'm using some syrup. About that much. It's not rocket surgery. And then some Sweet Baby Ray's hickory brown sugar, barbecue sauce. A little bit of that in there. And then it's a good idea too, if you've got it, put a little apple juice in there. I don't have any apple juice, so I'm not going to put anything in there. There's enough moisture in the ribs that it'll be fine. If you have apple juice or apple cider vinegar, just put a little bit of that in there. And I'll take you guys back, set you up, and we'll wrap these ribs up. Fellers and Felnuts, I apologize. My microphone died, so I got to do a little voiceover. What I'm doing right here is taking the ribs out, getting them ready to wrap. You'll notice that when I put them on the tinfoil, I put them meat side down, bones up, and that's the same way you're going to put them back on the grill. That way you get all your seasoning and your sugars and all that stuff right on the meat side of the ribs, and you know, it tastes a lot better. So we wrap them up as tight as we can because we do not want this to be a steam bath for the ribs. We want them to cook while they are wrapped. So you see, I take a lot of time here making sure that the ribs are wrapped up nice and tight to avoid, again, steaming the ribs. We don't want steamed ribs, we want smoked ribs. So yeah, that's what I do here. So we'll put them back on, meat side down, and we'll let this run for 4 hours, and then we'll move on to step 3. So it's been right at 4 hours since we wrapped these and put them on, and these guys should be nice and tendy. Probably said this before, but I don't remember if I did. This is not your traditional competition winning rack of ribs. All right, when you do competition ribs, they want a lot more bite than what we're providing here. But I like my ribs really, really, really tender. So That's why I cook them this way. If you like fall off the bone ribs, this is the way to do it. So I got this open back up. I'm going to, when I put these back on, flip them meat side up again, and then we're going to let it go for about an hour. It's not easy to get these to get back on the grill without falling apart, but that's not bad. So if you wanted to, you could brush this with a little bit of barbecue sauce. Let that barbecue sauce set up. I'm just going to take what's left in this here tin foil and pour it over the top. That's a nice glaze. Guys, these are going to be delicious. So we'll let those go for one more hour, and I'll see you when they're done. Ladies and gentlemen, the last hour has passed. Our ribs are done. I'm going to pull these off. We're going to go inside. Guys, this is important. No matter what kind of barbecue you're making, this meat has worked hard all day for us. You got to let it rest. So I'm going to go inside. We'll let this rest for 10 minutes or so. I got some potatoes that I'm going to heat up in the meantime. And then I'll show you the finished product once we get to that point. But I guarantee these are the most tender ribs and most delicious if you season them right that you're going to have. So I'm going to take these inside, let them rest, and I'll show you guys the finished product here in a minute. All right, guys, so it's been a few minutes since the ribs came off the grill. Got my taters warmed up here. So this is our final product. Just want to show you guys how easily them things fall apart. Them are some tendy ribs. I'm going to slap these on here and watch this. Bone comes straight out there. There's a little meat. Everybody gets a present. Nice clean bone. If you want fall off the bone ribs, that's the way to go.